Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Welcome to the second video on the advanced course on Forex trading. If you haven't watched the beginner and the intermediate level, where we have a total of about 43 videos and about 17 hours of video content already out there, then please make sure you go back and watch that particular playlist so that you can be able to understand what we are talking about on the advanced level of the course. All right, so on this particular video today, on this particular advanced level of the course, on this video today, remember I already taught you guys a strategy on how to trade the news. Trading the news is one of my most profitable strategies that I have in Forex trading. And talking about trading the news, I already taught you guys about the straddle strategy. All right, if you know about the straddle strategy, I've taught you guys about the straddle strategy of news trading, but now at the advanced level of the course, there are some modifications or there are some additions to this particular strategy, and also an additional strategy that you can also use for news trading. So if you're excited to know that particular additional strategy and the modification to this strategy, make sure you smash the like button below and let's get into the video. Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Golof, and on this channel we talk everything about Forex, crypto, business, travel and tips to help you stay profitable on a consistent basis. So if this is your first time coming to my channel, or if you've been watching my channel and you haven't subscribed, please make sure you smash that subscribe button below so that you can always be updated once I come up with awesome content like this. So good. Today, we remember Forex trading the news. Trading news in Forex trading is a two-sided sword, right? You know, when you talk of a two-sided sword, that means it has the good, the bad, and the ugly side. Let's talk about the good side of trading the news. The good side of trading the news is that you can make quick profit. You can make quick profit. We can make a lot. You can make millions within seconds. Even on my other videos, if you guys have been watching my live videos, there are some live videos that I used to make $15,000 within 30 seconds, $20,000 within 1 minute when you are trading the news and you know what you are doing. So that is the good side of the sword. The other side of the sword, which is the bad side of it, that is why I said it's a two-sided sword, right? The other side of the sword, which is now, the bad side of it is when you don't know what you are doing, and with news trading, you can blow your account within the same. So the same 30 seconds that you used to make millions, you can use that same 30 seconds to blow your account if you don't know what you are doing. That is why I always like to tell you guys the truth. I always like to give you guys the risk disclaimer so that you know what you are getting involved. So trading the news in Forex is a two-sided sword. You need to be able to know what you are doing. That is why I'm here to show you guys the steps you are supposed to follow. So I've taught you guys about coming to news trading. We have two methods. We have the straddle strategy and we have a directional bias. We have a directional bias method. Let's go on the other slide so that I can be able to explain these two methods to you guys. All right, good. So here you see the two ways of trading the news. Remember, this is strictly about trading the news, and now we are talking about advanced method. We are talking advanced now. We are talking like advanced traders now, right? Good. So the first method we have is the straddle strategy. Straddle strategies, you guys already know. With the straddle strategy, let's just assume the market is going up, and at this level, we know the news is going to be released at, let's just say, 3:30 p.m. So at that level, we put our sell stop below the current market price, our buy stop above the current market price, and once the news is released, any direction the news takes, all right? So we don't care what direction the news is going to take. Any direction the news is going to take is either going to trigger our buy stop or trigger our sell stop. Then we also have our TP. We have our TP somewhere here. We have our TP somewhere up, stop loss. So the whole strategy is already there. There's already a detailed video on how to trade with this strategy, all right? So I'm just showing you guys the different methods you can trade the news. That is the straddle strategy. There's a detailed viral video I've already created on that particular strategy. This is now the new one which I haven't mentioned, and I want to only mention at the advanced level of the course. When you guys must have understood a little bit about Forex trading, you must have understood a little bit about other strategies, all right? Now I'm coming in with this one, which is called the directional bias. The directional bias strategy. Just from the name, the directional bias strategy means before the news is released, you are able to predict the direction of the news. How amazing is it if you are able to predict the direction of a news even before the news is released? Do you see how amazing it's going to be? That is what I'm going to be showing you guys on the directional bias strategy of trading the news. All right, good. So talking about the directional strategy, the directional bias of trading the news, you can see here. You can see the market is going up. We have our higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So the market is, you can see the market is in an uptrend, and at this level we have the current market price here. And according to our analysis, I will show you guys how you can be able to analyze to predict, how you can be able to predict the market direction. I will show you the secret on the next slide. Many people have been asking, but now I got your back and I'm going to cover it on this particular video. All right, so I'll show you guys how you can be able to predict the market. You can be able to predict the news before the news is released. So let's just say here we have our current market price, and according to your analysis, you know that, let's just assume this is USD CAD. All right, let's just assume this is USD CAD, and according to your analysis, you know that the news is going to be positive for the United States dollar. And since this is USD CAD and the United States dollar is the primary or the primary or the base currency, it means this chart is going to go up as soon as the news is released, right? It means the chart will go up as soon as the news is released. So what you instead do is you place a buy stop. You place only a buy stop, only a buy stop, only a buy stop, only. So instead of putting a buy stop and a sell stop as opposed to the strategy, here, since we've already analyzed the market and you know that there's a high probability that the news is going to be positive on the United States dollar, you instead place a buy stop above the current market price. In that way, you'll be able to have a little bit of freedom. You'll be able to have a little bit of freedom to easily manage this particular news, to easily manage this position once the news is released, as opposed to this particular situation where you have both the buy stop and the sell stop. And in this situation, there used to be situations where the news is released and you see something like this. You see the market, you see something like this where both your buy stop and your sell stop is triggered, and at the end of the day, your account is blown. This used to happen sometime with the strategy, but I already showed you guys tricks on how to avoid that. Good. But in this case, you hardly see this kind of situation. Why? Because you've already predicted the market direction, and now you are trading with what? A directional bias. You are trading with a directional bias. So let me show you how you can be able to predict the market direction to be able to trade with a market or the directional bias. All right? Good. So good. You can see I say how to predict the news direction or how to predict the market direction. How amazing it is if you are able to know the NFP data, or if you are able to predict NFP data before NFP is released. How amazing is that? That is why I say look for the aggregate. This is the method. Look for the aggregate. Look for the aggregate. Look for the aggregate of the past news events within that range. All right? Look for the aggregate of the past news events within that range. Let me show you. It's very easy to say, but very difficult to analyze. That is why I want to break it down. Let's take NFP, non-farm payroll. Let's take non-farm payroll. How can you predict non-farm payroll before the data is even released? How can you predict this data? Let me show you. Good. Non-farm payroll stands for NFP stands for non-farm payroll, and non-farm payroll measures the total number of jobs. Non-farm payroll usually affects the United States dollar, and it measures the total number of jobs created in the United States out of the agricultural sector. Because you know the agricultural sector, you have there's tractor manufacturers, you have farmers, so all of that is called the agricultural sector, right? But now there are other jobs that can be created, like people working in the retail, people working in Amazon, people working for Elon Musk. Most of those people working out of the agricultural sector, at the end of the month, when they measure the total number of jobs that were able to be created for them, they call that data the non-farm payroll. All right, they call that data the non-farm payroll. So how can you predict that? Good. Remember on my list, I remember I gave you guys a list. I remember with this my 2017 or 2016 book, I've given you guys a list of the major news events which you are supposed to focus on when it comes to any particular news event. Remember that. So when it comes to USD, these are the major news events which I gave you guys. I told you guys to focus on NFP because there are many news events, but some of those news events are just trash. They're not going to have any impact once the news is real. They're not going to have any impact on your chart. So coming to USD, these are the major news events that will have a little bit of impact. You have NFP is the first one. NFP, you don't joke with NFP. You can make millions within seconds in NFP, and you can lose millions within seconds in NFP. You need to know what you are doing, but this is the advanced level of the course. So we're now talking like advanced traders. We're not talking like pros. Good. So you see, we have GDP. We have GDP as here as one of the major news events. We have ADP, non-farm employment change. Remember that is another data. Then we have unemployment rate, and we have CPI. CPI and NFP are the most powerful. Then now you start seeing ADP, non-farm employment change. Then you have employment rate and GDP. So how can I predict NFP data? What you do is, if I'm to predict the NFP data for this month, this is already I think the 29th of November. And then NFP data is going to be next week. So I have to start predicting NFP data now. So what I do is I look for the past results of these major news events. So if you are predicting, let's just say you want to predict the news that, or you want to predict the data for the Canadian dollar, you just go to the Canadian dollar. I've given you guys the list. I've given you guys a list of the major news on the Canadian dollar. There's a video already on news trading where I've given you guys that list. So you go on the Canadian dollar, you come out with that list, and on that past month, so you go on that past month, like taking the USD for example, you go on the past month, the past data for this major news event. So now let's just assume for GDP, let's change our colors so that we can be able to. Let's just assume for GDP for the month of November, it was positive. We don't care what value it is, so long our main goal here is to be able to check if it was positive or negative, right? The GDP was positive. Then ADP, non-farm employment change, it was also, let's just assume it was also positive. All right. Then unfortunately, unemployment rate, we had a negative. Negative, let's put red. We had a negative. All right. So unfortunately, unemployment rate was negative. And then CPI was T positive. So if you have to look for the aggregate, of this, now you have positive, and what? One negative. Who is the winner at the end of the day? At the end of the day, positive is the winner. At the end of the day, you see, positive is the winner. Positive. As easy as that, guys. Go back, and this is not magic. You won't see this anywhere. I found this out through trial by error, through blowing out multiple accounts, through making a lot of mistakes, trying to figure out how can I know this news before, how can I be able to predict this news before the data is released. All right. So let's just assume for the past data, remember I said the past data. Let's just assume the past GDP for USD was positive. The past ADP, the past adaptable or ADP non-farm employment change was positive. The unemployment rate was negative, and the CPI was positive. Look for the aggregate. Look for the aggregate, and the aggregate will be able to give you 80% of the time. Will be able to give you the actual value of what is coming. Right? Remember, our main goal here is just to know if the data is going to be positive or negative. You can't know the exact. You can't know if it's going to be 2,000 jobs or 3,000 jobs or 4,000 jobs. Nobody can know that one. Our main goal is to know if the data is going to be red or green. That is our main goal, because if it's red, it means the chart will go down, and if it's green, if you are talking about USD card, it means the chart will go up. So our main goal is just to know if it's going to be, the data is going to be positive or negative. Because if you can check here on this chart, if you can check on this screenshot, you see once the news is released, you either the data is either going to be the actual data is either going to be red or green. Red or green. If it's red, it means the market will go down, and if it's green, it means the market will go up based on the particular currency we are talking about. So our main goal is just to find out if the data is going to be green. So from this our analysis, we already know very clearly that for NFP that is coming up maybe next week, for NFP that is coming up next week, from our analysis, we are already predicting that the data is going to be positive for the United States dollar. Good. Since we already know very well that the data might be positive for the United States dollar, how can you trade that? Let's take now gold for an example, right? Let's take gold for an example. You know, gold is SAUUSD, and here we have USD as the secondary currency. So if USD is positive, and on the gold pair, let me undo this. If USD is positive and on the gold pair we have USD as the secondary currency, it means this chart will go up or down. It means this chart will go down, all right? Because that is what we call counter trending or counter trading. This is the gold here, or the United States dollar here is the secondary currency on this particular pair. Remember, gold is SAUUSD, and the United States dollar is the secondary currency. So if the data is supporting the United States dollar to be positive, it means the chart. If you are talking about the gold chart, it means once the news is released, the chart will instead go down. All right, the chart will instead go down. And if we're talking about this is for SAUUSD. And if we're talking about now, let's talk about GDP. Let's talk about GDP USD. What will happen for GDP USD? Okay, it's going to be the same thing since we still have USD as the secondary currency. Let's talk about USD CAD. USD CAD, all right? Let's talk about USD CAD. Here we have USD as the base currency, and we have CAD as the secondary or the quoted currency. So any news which is positive will just directly affect this particular currency pair, all right? So if the news was positive, remember, according to our analysis, we are predicting that the news is going to might be positive for NFP. So meaning if once the news is released here, this chart will go up since the United States dollar is the base currency, all right? Good. Now, so let's take for gold. Let's take gold again as an example. Let's take gold again as an example. We have our chart. We have our chart here, and the market has been trading up and down, and here, this is the current market price as we speak. Remember, the news is coming up very soon. The news is coming up very soon, and we've already done our analysis, and we know that this news might be positive for the United States, and NFP might be positive. So what do? Since we already know that it might be positive, and here we have the United States dollar as a secondary or the quoted currency, it means there's a high probability that this chart will go down. All right, since we have it as a secondary currency. So what do? We instead come here about 15 pips from the current market price. We put our sell stop. Then we put 50. If we are talking about NFP, remember different news events have different impacts. If we are talking about NFP, maybe our target is going to be now about 50 pips. About 50. So our take profit is going to be about 50 pips away, and then our stop loss will be about 20 pips. So that is a risk to reward of 1:2. All right. So you see, this is where I put my stop loss, because I'm predicting that this news might be positive for the United States. So this is where I'll put my sell stop. And once the news is released, if it comes out to be negative, then it will trigger my stop loss, and I'll be able to come out with the profit. See, so this one gives me a little bit of flexibility. Instead of having another position up, in some circumstances or in some situation, the news might be released, and you see this one will come, go like this. So even if he has to do that, in this situation. The good thing is I have just one sell stop. I don't have another position. I don't have another buy stop up where if it has to do that, if it has to fluctuate due to liquidity, it will trigger all my position and knock me out of the position. This is for gold where we have SAUUSD. What if it was for something like USD CAD? Let's take something like USD CAD. Let's take something like for USD CAD. We'll have something like, let's just assume the market is going this, and here we have the current market price here. For USD CAD, let's put this now, USD CAD. For USD card, since we have USD as the first currency, and we are predicting that the non-farm payroll might be positive for the United States dollar. What we will do, we'll instead put a buy stop. Since we are predicting that the market will go up, we'll instead put a buy stop. Our take profit will go up, our stop loss, then boom. You see, so those are situations where we either use a buy stop or a sell stop. It just depends on the currency pair you are trading. Because based on the particular currency pair you are trading, the United States dollar can either be the base currency or the secondary currency. The United States dollar can either be the primary currency or the quoted currency. So that also matters a lot. The most important thing is looking for the aggregate. Looking for the aggregate between the past data for that particular currency pair. Looking for the aggregate. So let's just assume, okay, let's just take one other example. What if here, instead of having, let's just assume here we had this one positive, then we have negative, all right? Negative. So let's just assume this one we had positive, we had 2 positive and 2. We're having 4 news events and we had 2 positive and 2 negative. It means this one I can't easily predict. The market data that is going to come out. So at this level, I can use now my strategy where I'll just put my buy stop and my sell stop above and below the current market price. And let's just assume now this one I had this one on negative. Then I had one positive. It means the aggregate. What is the aggregate for this one? I had negative divided by 1 positive. 1, 2, 3. So the aggregate here is what? Negative. You see, the aggregate here is negative, meaning for the non-farm payroll, there's a high probability that the data is going to come out negative because GDP was positive, but ADP was negative, unemployment rate was negative, and CPI was negative for the same month or for the past month. Remember, you take just the past data, the past month, you go on the past month, you take the data for the top currency. I already gave you guys those top cryptocurrencies. This will work for any pair. If you're talking about Australian dollar, you just take the top news events I gave you guys on Australian dollar, look for the aggregate for the past news event. If it's positive or negative, that will give you an idea. That will give you, and remember, we're talking in terms of probabilities. Anything can still happen. You can do your analysis, it shows you negative, then when the news comes out, it becomes positive. Something can still happen. You don't know, nobody knows, nobody can ever know. But now we're looking for a probability. What will give us an edge to easily make an informed decision. So guys, please, the most important thing is for you to do backtesting. Backtest these ideas. I can sit here and teach you how to swim, teach you on how to be a pilot. But if you don't want to pull the trigger, there is no way you'll be able to know this secret. So please go back to your MT5, do backtesting, or go back to the past news events. Just open your investing.com. Open the major news events. Check for the past. Just take one month for an example. Let's just take NFP for August. Go back now go back to July, or go back to the top news events that happened in that August. Check this data, check their aggregate to see if the NFP that came out was able to coincide with that particular data. Be able to do your back testing. Try this out on a demo to see if it is something, if it is a strategy you can be able to implement. Remember, I'm talking about 2 strategies at this point in time. The strategy and the directional bias. The directional bias strategy. The strategy is still too superb, and I'm just adding another strategy. Not that I'm putting the directional bias strategy to overtake the strategy. The strategy is still very powerful, but I'm just adding another. I'm just at this advanced level of the course, I'm just adding another strategy to trading the news. So that if you're somebody who is very conservative, you can try the directional bias. But if you're somebody who knows what you are doing and you want to be able to catch the move irrespective of the direction, then you can go with a strategy. Any strategy you want, I have you guys covered, and I already have videos on this channel about that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to know more about these inner circle discussions, you want to hear from me one-on-one, make sure you check my Patreon link on the video description. My Patreon link is on the video description. where you can be able to hear from me one-on-one and can be able to share most of my trade ideas. You also have an idea to join a Discord community of thousands of traders who are sharing ideas about Forex and crypto on a daily basis. So check the link below to be able to join me on Discord. And you also want to have if you want to use the best Forex broker, you might know how to trade, but if you don't have the right tool, you won't be able to trade. So if you want to use the best Forex broker, check the link below to be able to use the same Forex broker I use. Make sure you also smash the like button. Also make sure you follow me on Instagram. Watch the videos I'm going to leave by the end of the screen, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.